right, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Game Story. This is episode 3, The Developers. If you're listening to us, we just want to wish everybody a happy, healthy Monday. I know we got that Rona kind of going around right now still. We want all of our listeners to just be safe. And if you got to stay home and listen to this podcast or play some video games, then by all means, go ahead and do that.
That's right. We want everybody to stay safe. We actually just had a scare this past week. Me and my wife had to go into quarantine until our results came back. So it's been kind of a crazy week with everything going on. How about your week, Brooks?
Yeah, I feel that, man. You just like this week I've been kind of going through it, a little bit. Got some personal stuff going on, but I think that's all starting to get cleared up, and we're looking positive for the future here. And I hope everybody else's year is going that way. We've got a little bit of crazy stuff in the world, but that's what we're here for. We're here to kind of break through that and just give you some positivity about some video games that we all love. And this week we're doing the developers.
That's right. And we are been playing games for, as we said before, for so many years that we have seen the rise and fall of developers. But today we're going to go through some of our favorites and some of the things they may have done that we haven't agreed with. And I think the first one we got really on our list, and which is one that me and Brooks, we hold dear to our hearts, is Blizzard.
Mm-hmm.
They really hit their stride in Orcs and Humans back in the '90s, but World of Warcraft was their baby.
Yeah,
It
no,
still
that's
is.
absolutely still is. And you're absolutely correct. When we talk about specific developers and companies that have done a really great job over the years, it's really hard to pass over Blizzard. They're a juggernaut in the industry, but that hasn't come without its own growing pains. Like you said, in the 90s, they were huge, and even up to the early 2000s. But in 2008, they were actually bought by Activision, and a lot of people will argue that that's when their quality began to decline.
That's right. And in 2008 when they did that, at that time Blizzard held 62% of the MMORPG, which is massive multiplayer online role-playing game, um, audience with their subscription to World of Warcraft that launched in 2004. And in 2008, which I know is when Wrath of Lich King was going on, was probably to me is my favorite expansion and their best expansion, because it wasn't long after that we had the next one, and it just kind of fell flat as opposed to what we had before Activision and Blizzard became Activision Blizzard.
Yeah, that's absolutely true, and you hit it right on the mark. So, Wrath of the Lich King was a 2008 game, and it really was the pinnacle. A lot of people will say that World of Warcraft peaked with that third expansion, or a second expansion, really. It was the third installment, but it was the second
Yeah.
expansion.
12
Um,
million subscribers.
12 million subscribers. That's insane, right? That's a lot of people. And a lot of people will say that that was the best rendition, and I'm inclined to agree. It's to the point where Blizzard has actually released classic servers because there's this huge rush. People say we want to play the old version of the game and not the recent expansions, which have fallen flat.
They really have, and it's a painful thing to see. As you know, in 2008, me and Brooks were playing with some of our friends, and we were playing pretty religiously, and we had some all nighters. And it wasn't. It was really after that expansion we all just started to kind of play fade in and out over the years. We never had the same intensity that we did during Burning Crusade, Lich King, and the original base game Vanilla WoW. That is called.
That's true. You had Wrath of the Lich King. After that, of course, they did Cataclysm, Mist of Pandaria, and then after that, it got real weird. You had Warlords of Draenor and Legion, and you can hardly tell the difference between the two expansions. I mean, they both have the similar subject matter. It seems like they're almost not trying that hard, and I hate to say it, but World of Warcraft, while it's never been killed, um, I feel like it is going to start declining.
That's right, and Blizzard will be upset to see WoW decline, but Blizzard also has so many other games. They've had Diablo since the '90s. That is a fantastic dungeon crawler. A lot of people were excited for, and Diablo 4 is on the way. We're hoping to hear more news this year, and hopefully it may be released next year or the year after. They
Mm-hmm.
also have StarCraft, which in Korea has been a national pastime, and they had StarCraft 2, which is probably the top real time strategy game out there. And then they also have Heroes of the Storm with a MOBA, and
Hmm.
which is like League of Legends, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. Then they also have Warcraft 3 Remastered, which is their original RTS that led to Dota, which led to Heroes of the Storm. And they have Hearthstone, which is a trading card game. And Brooks, and I think they have one real big title that I know you play a lot more than I have.
Yeah, they've got one big title. I believe that's going to be Overwatch. You know, Overwatch is a fantastic game for what it is. It's a competitive shooter, picked up a huge competitive scene with esports, and Blizzard really pumped a lot of money into it. Uh, it makes it really easy to follow because your home state, your home city could have a professional esports team, and so it's really cool and easy to kind of get involved with that.
And I think
Um,
Dallas has one too, don't they?
yeah, Dallas has the Dallas Fuel. Granted, they're not the best team in the field, not to trash anybody, but I think a lot of people would say maybe the London Spitfire is top tier, along with some of the other Chinese-based teams. But
Yeah, and the NFL Patriots owner Robert Kraft has a team as well.
that's true. A lot of these companies are really starting to sign on and say, "Hey, esports is a huge investment." Um, and it really is a testament to how far these developers have come in making that a reality. Um, but going
That's
back to
right.
going back to Overwatch a little bit, it is starting to show its age. Even Blizzard admitted that it was time. It was time to change things up. They're planning Overwatch 2, which has been previewed at least. But I kind of wonder, Jeremy. All they're really hinting at is new champions and new maps. Do you think it justifies a whole new Overwatch 2 title?
I think it can because it gives it that new freshness, and I think they can change some things. Hopefully, with some of the characters, especially people like Reinhardt. He was my favorite person to play as, but he's also very limited. So I'm hoping maybe they might change it up a little bit and see what they can do. And it'd be nice to see. Blizzard is known for having crossover
Hmm.
characters and skins, so I think it'd be nice to see Overwatch get some of that love. Imagine playing Reinhardt walking around with in an orc skin or a
Mm.
Stormwind from Warcraft, and having, and say Agent 76, I believe is his name,
Hmm. Yeah.
looking like Raynor from StarCraft. It'd be neat to see some of their traditional crossovers in their games that we've seen come out in a strong point in Overwatch 2.
That would be really cool, and Blizzard's done a very good job with the referencing and cross referencing of their platforms. You know, Hearthstone has had its characters obviously pulled from World of Warcraft. Heroes of the Storm has a rideable Hearthstone card as a mount, and
It
not to
does.
mention you can play Overwatch characters and World of Warcraft characters and Diablo characters all inside of Heroes of the Storm. So Blizzard's done a great job with that.
And in a fun note, in Heroes of the Storm 2, you also can play one of Blizzard's very first titles, the Lost Vikings. They are also in Heroes of the Storm. They're
Hmm.
a hard champion to play, but it's great to see them giving some love to some of their old titles they had in the early '90s that made them big success.
That's absolutely true, and maybe that's Blizzard's call for help, saying we want to go back and maybe poking fun of Activision a little bit.
Yeah, because you don't see anything from Activision there. We don't see Crash Bandicoot, and we don't see anybody from Call of Duty in Heroes of the Storm.
That's right. That's right. But going back to Heroes of the Storm, it's interesting because Blizzard invented the MOBA genre, right? A lot of people play League.
Dota,
Yeah, a lot of people will play Dota or League of Legends, and those have become much more popular than Heroes of the Storm will ever be. Um, but Blizzard was really what started it. They had Dota, not to be confused with the modern Dota, but Blizzard had Defense of the Ancients, which was a separate game mode, which really kicked this off.
that's right, they sure did, and that was a really fun one, and it really did set up for more MOBAs, especially like games like League of Legends. Now that has been a massive game in the competitive esports world and just casual players in general. I know Brooks. I think me and you used to play pretty regularly. We haven't played in a while, but that's definitely one, and I believe Riot made them. Correct?
Yeah, Riot Games. That's another. great company that we need to talk about here. They've done really well for themselves and maintaining their player base and maintaining their success. League of Legends is one of the largest online games in the world right now, maintains a gigantic player base, and has had constant updates since its inception. It's a huge, it's a beast of a game right now.
So Brooks, when you play, what was probably your favorite champion to play during League of Legends?
Yeah, I gotta give it to my girl Lux. She's she's so powerful, and who doesn't love giant laser beams? Let's be honest.
I don't like them, especially when I get hit by it.
That's true. Who was your go-to?
I would have to say mine was Garen, which everyone knows like, oh, Garen. Garen has a stigma about him. He's a spin it to win it champion, and he can play that way, and it really does. He spins his sword around and around and around, and you can move with it. But I loved playing him. I thought he was a lot of fun, and I had to give it up to Vigar as well. If you are a Final Fantasy fan, he looks just like Vivi, and he shoots spells. He's really annoying, but he's a lot of fun to play. And has some of the best skins you could have for him. I thought was in the game.
That's true, and I got to give it to Timo too for most annoying champion ever created. Him and his little poison mushrooms
Yes.
that he's leaving all around.
Yes, that is exactly correct. I mean, so annoying, so much fun. You love to have him on your team. You hate it when you didn't.
That's true, and it's this just goes to show how cool a game like League of Legends is. Even though myself and Jeremy haven't really played in a while, we're still able to call back to like our favorite characters, and that's how well Riot has done with the branding, with the immersion, and just having people fall in love with their game. Now, in more recent times here, they just released a first-person shooter called Valorant. It's very similar to Counter Strike, with a little bit of Overwatch thrown in that your characters have abilities, but it is a tactical shooter, much like Counter Strike.
Interesting. I have not played this game, but I have heard about it as it's gained its popularity, and I've heard that same thing. A lot of people said it's very, very similar to Counter Strike, but it has Overwatch game style a little bit with it as well. Which, if you can mix those two properly, you're gonna have a massive game. Because Counter Strike has been around for over a decade, and it's just a massive, massive first person shooter.
Oh yeah, no, Counter Strike is legendary. Let's be honest. This Counter Strike is the first person shooter. It almost is its genre. It's been around for forever. It still maintains one of the largest player bases in the world for games, and the esports scene for Counter Strike might be one of the largest in the world for that as well. And I think what Riot has done is taken a very successful formula, paired it with Blizzard's own formula, and have come up with something that's going to be amazing. And it's received great appeal so far. Super high player base. It's been marketed very well, and I've had a lot of fun with it myself. So, Riot, keep up the good work. We expect some good things from you for 2020.
That's right. Well, hopefully to see what they can do, and Riot has brought us over to a lot of other places. A lot of people have stepped up their games and having big games like that. And I think another one would have to be Epic. We have to talk about them because, for one, for me, they made Gears of War, and they haven't been Epic since. They've been Fortnite ever since, and that is one of my least favorite games. I know people love it, and me and Brooks disagree on this game. I don't doubt what it's done for the gaming world, but I cannot stand that game.
Yeah, no, and I understand the complaints here. You make a good point where Epic used to be known for their epic games, things like Gears of War. They were a more serious company, pumping out more serious games. And one day somebody had the idea, said, "Hey, let's make Fortnite," and that
I hate that
changed the
guy.
that game. It's changed the face of the industry. Fortnite immediately shot up to probably the number one game in the country. I don't have the numbers on that, but it would not surprise me.
Don't
Um,
say that.
massive, massive player base. And you got to give it up. It's not a traditional shooter. Um,
It's not traditional anything, sir.
it's not traditional anything. It kind of set the battle royale standard a little bit. There were a lot of copies that came in after. Even though the battle royale genre has been around for a while, Fortnite really made everybody step up their game. Um, and with
Boo.
I hear you, but with the constant updates that they've been doing, they've kept it fresh. They've kept it clean and playable. And when they say that they're coming out with new maps and new updates, they don't mean they're just adding new maps. They actively destroy what they have and rebuild something on top of it.
I will give them that. When they make a new map, they do a big spectacle, and it is fantastic. I give them that credit because
Hmm.
you can't deny when you flood your map to make a new map, and it's just something out of this world that like the current season is that just came out.
Hmm.
I will give them that credit, but I still think that game is terrible.
Yeah, I think you and a lot of people would say that. I certainly think so. But yeah, it's really cool. Guys, if you play Fortnite, if you're still interested, they did release their season 3 update that came out on June 17th, so it's still quite fresh. And Jeremy's absolutely right. They did their live event where they blew up the agency, flooded their map, and covered everything in water. If it sounds crazy, that's because it is. But only Epic Games can pull out stunts like this. I think last year they did a black hole event where they literally turned off their servers with a black hole event. Like it's no other companies out here doing this. So I got to give it to them with the creative
Would you
updates.
say? Would you say it's epic?
I would, I won't say it, but I'm sure other people will. But another game that Epic is uh, really pushing is Dauntless. I don't know if you played it, but it just received an update in March called Scorched Earth.
I have played it. I actually played it on my Nintendo Switch. Now this game is a Monster Hunter, pretty much a Monster Hunter. It is also free to play. So you don't have to buy it. You can download for free. There is cosmetics you can get if you wish. But overall, I mean, I have yet to put any money into it, and I've had just a blast with it.
Yeah, no, and I enjoyed it myself. I haven't played the most recent content update that they've put out, but I do enjoy Monster Hunter games, and Dauntless is a very easy entry to Monster Hunter. I think some of the criticism of the normal Monster Hunter games is that maybe they're a little complicated. They're a little bit complex. You have complex crafting systems, traps. You got to really be focused on the way that you're fighting and what you're fighting. Dauntless, granted, is a little bit easier to manage, easier access, and it's got that Fortnite type animation, so it's a little less threatening, I guess, to new players. You could say.
It's a great stepping stone for anybody who would like to try a Monster Hunter style, or for people who have played Monster Hunter and just the complexity of the game just turn them away from it. It's a great substitute, and the monsters are a lot of fun to kill. They have a lot of um, just for variety. I mean, one minute you're fighting a big rhino, and the next minute you've got a dragon. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Epic's going to have another great year. They're a company that's doing very, very well for themselves, just like Riot. They do have a new game that's just over the horizon, and that's called Spellbreak. It is a battle royale. But it's focused more on magic and spells and wizards and kind of that sort of like floaty magical combat. It's
Not
kind
Harry
of
Potter wizards, folks. It's not Harry Potter. Just going to throw that out there.
yeah, it's not Harry Potter by any means. It's actually a really fun concept. It's more elemental. They have abilities with different elements that interact with each other. We don't know a whole lot about this game. I believe it just came into to beta testing, but that's another one to look out for. And Epic thinks that they're going to be able to manage two different battle royales, and I'm interested to see how they do that.
Yep, that was definitely going to be interesting to see a company manage two battle royales, and they've done well with the Fortnite. But to throw another one in there, when Fortnite's still going strong, it's to me, it's definitely a big risk.
It is, yeah. I mean, at that point, you're starting to compete with yourself. But again, Epic is not a company to underestimate. They've shown time and time again that they're versatile, that they know what they're doing, and they're willing to step out of the box. So I expect great things coming down the line for them. Now, another company that is coming out with some exciting things is Square Enix. What you got on them?
Oh, Square Enix, now that is a developer I know. I believe everybody who listens to us has played at some point. If you have played Final Fantasy, you have played a Square Enix game. But here's the thing, though: Square Enix was not Square Enix till 2003. A lot of people don't know this. They used to be called Square Enix, were two separate companies. Enix was came out in 1975, and Square started in 1983, and they got started both on the original Nintendo system. But at that time, we had not had it. It was called the Famicom, and that's what it was in Japan.
Mm.
And Enix made Dragon Quest series. They are the founders and owners of that game. And then Square made Final Fantasy, and both of those games are still being played to this day. Over 30 years later, we still have those series going strong, and when they merged, it was a massive move in the video game industry. It made them a true force to be reckoned with.
Yeah, absolutely, and they've done well ever since. That was probably one of the best moves in gaming history. Really, it was that combination. Now they did just release their Final Fantasy VII remake. I know a lot of fans are super happy about that.
They are. I have not played it, but I have heard nothing but great things. It's sold a ton. I'm hoping that Final Fantasy IX gets the same treatment. I was not a Final Fantasy VII fan as much as I was number nine. You
Hmm.
know, but so we can hope to see, and I hope maybe they might do some for the original Dragon Quest games as well. I would love to see Dragon Quest 8 come back and get a nice redone.
Hmm.
Dragon Quest 7, some of those older ones. I mean, there's
Hmm.
so much that can be done as they've now shown what they can do with Final Fantasy 7.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I think a lot of fans would be happy to see Final Fantasy IX, especially after the good job they did remaking Seven. Like you said, Dragon Quest would be another great line of titles to bring back, and I think people are okay with remasters. You don't always need something new games or new titles, but if you can take something old that was popular, revamp it, and put it onto one of these new systems, I think you got a good thing going.
That's right, and Square Enix is also in charge of Tomb Raider now. They've acquired all these other companies, so all this falls into Square Enix. They have the Just Cause series, and they have so many titles. And they've not gone without some flops. A lot of people will say Final Fantasy 13 was terrible, and then you had 14, The Realm Reborn, which was their MMO that had to be
Mm.
restarted after the worst launch, I believe, in history of MMOs.
Yeah, no, it was a bad launch. It was one of the biggest gaming failures in recent times, at least in our lifetime. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, if you're not familiar with what happened with Final Fantasy 14, Square Enix released it. It was deemed so bad that they actually had to take it down, essentially rebuild it from the ground up, and re-release the game.
Yep.
Um,
And they called it A Realm Reborn, and it's been a big hit ever since. It's one of the few subscription based MMOs out there, and it's actually on the PlayStation 4. They put it on the
mhm,
PS3, and they also put it on the 4. And there's talk of it maybe and possibly coming to the Xbox Series X. We'll see how that goes.
mhm.
There's a chance of it though, as more people are asking for more MMOs to come to consoles.
That's true, and the MMOs moving over to consoles is a cool thing to watch. Now, speaking of gaming failures and rebounds, I feel like we have to talk about another one that happened here in recent history.
Let's.
Fallout 76 coming out of
Oh.
Bethesda Studios. Jeremy, what you got on that one?
Man, oh boy, that is probably, I would say that was probably worse than a Realm Reborn. At
Yeah.
least they came back and fixed a Realm Reborn and made it to what it is now. Fallout 76 was a game that Bethesda hyped. A lot of people were really hyped for, but man, they dropped the ball on the launch all the way across. I mean, just across the board. The
Hmm.
collector's editions didn't have the right bags. They tried to cheap out.
Hmm.
I mean, then the game was just it's so bad that, I mean, they were bundling it with Xbox One X's, and no people were buying the Xbox One X. But if you wanted a free code, you can guarantee you can find somebody who's giving the code out because they had no desire for the game,
Yeah.
which is
No,
surprising.
yeah, it was bad, guys. It was bad. And like Jeremy said, not only the game was terrible, but the merch that they were promising people to go along with it, like collectors bags, and I think they had like bottles, like Nuka Cola bottles.
Yep.
They were all very low quality, not what they had promised the fans, and it was a failure all the way around.
They
You
ended up
know,
having to send out new bags. It was so bad.
it was awful. It was really awful, and it's kind of interesting because that failure, um, while they've tried to repair it, it's a done deal. You know, there have been updates, but people say it's still riddled with bugs. The game just doesn't work. But on the other hand, Bethesda is a good studio. I think the only thing I have to say here is Elder Scrolls, and immediately you know
Oh
what they're
yeah,
capable of.
I mean exactly. I mean even the other Fallout's were good. I mean New Vegas was probably. I don't know about you, Brooks, but I played New Vegas and it was probably one of the top games. I mean, but like you said, we if you would talk about Bethesda, you come to those original Fallout's like New Vegas, number three, number four, but then you have Elder Scrolls. Elder
Hmm.
Scrolls has been around for, I mean, what, upwards of 20 years now?
Oh yeah, Elder Scrolls has been around for a very long time. I know they started off with like Daggerfall, they moved on to Elder Scrolls Arena, and then they had Elder Scrolls 3, which really put it on the map for a lot of people, and that was Elder Scrolls
Morrowind.
Morrowind, available on the original Xbox, which is where a lot of people just first discovered it.
That's right. I still have the Morrowind Game of the Year edition on my original Xbox console.
Likewise, likewise. You know, and guys, that's just a classic game. A lot of people talk about Skyrim, and we'll get into Skyrim here in a little bit, but if you get the chance to go back and play Morrowind, the
And even
world building,
Oblivion.
and even Oblivion, this was the RPG. You still had the character customization options, the stats. You could really build your character, and they kind of lost that in the recent versions of Elder Scrolls, but they're still amazing games.
They are, and when you also think of Bethesda and you think of Elder Scrolls, you have to think of Elder Scrolls V Skyrim.
Right.
Now, this game has came out in 2011, and it has been ported over to every console, every version known to man. It's even made its way. It skipped the Wii and the Wii U, and it came out on the Switch. It was one of the first games to come out on the Switch. I mean, it's on everything. It's on PS3, Xbox 360, Switch, Xbox One, PS4, computer. I
Hmm.
mean, people have made mods for it. It's been around. I mean, they even have a PSVR version,
Yeah.
and it's fantastic.
Hmm. That's true. Now, this is a game that's been pushed to the limit as far as where it can be played on. And there's jokes, that Bethesda spent so much time on Skyrim and porting it out to other platforms that the next Elder Scrolls isn't going to be called Elder Scrolls 6. People were joking that's going to be called Skyrim 2 because it
Oh,
kind of took over the Elder Scrolls world there for a while.
it did, and Elder Scrolls 6 is on the way. They have shown
Hmm.
the preview. It is slated to come out, I believe, in 2022. They're
Hmm.
trying to do their best on it because they have to top Skyrim.
Yeah.
Skyrim is a game that when it came out, it had a couple bugs, but they fixed it within I believe a week, and
Hmm.
it's just been a smash hit ever since.
Yeah, and I still love Skyrim, And Elder Scrolls 6, we don't have a lot of information on that yet. They have been pretty quiet. We know they're
Very
working on it. They
quiet.
showed the preview. There are rumors that it might take place in the Black Marsh, which would be the homeland of the Argonians, which are the lizard people type race, or in Elsewhere, which would be the homeland of the Khajiit, the cat people that you see in those games. So,
Somerset, yeah, that would be cool to see.
yeah.
They just released excuse me Somerset in the Khajiit area on the MMO Elder Scrolls version, which is called Elder Scrolls Online.
Hmm.
And if you like a good MMO and a good story, Elder Scrolls Online is the best one for you. It is on consoles, it is on PC. I mean, it is a great MMO. I know me and Brooks, I think we played it at launch for what of like a week straight. It felt like. I
Yeah.
mean, just hardcore playing on it.
Yeah, no, we put in a good amount of hours on that game, and I know we've covered a few MMOs here today. We covered World of Warcraft, a little bit of Final Fantasy 14, and some others, but Elder Scrolls Online really is, I think, the best MMO out as far as storytelling goes, and really freedom. You can go anywhere now. They did Tamriel Unlimited, which opened up all the realms, took away the level restrictions, and you can literally day one create your character and go anywhere you want, and that's pretty unique for an MMO.
That's unique just for any game. Period. A lot of games, you can't do that.
Hmm.
And for a game to do that, that is just something else.
Yeah.
And we talk about MMOs a lot. Me and Brooks have, we're pretty proficient with them, but they just everybody's making them. And now that consoles are able to hold it, it's a new world. You know, but every MMO, I'm gonna tell everybody this has trouble with the launch typically every time. I haven't seen an MMO come out and just be flawless since World of Warcraft 2004, and even then it had a couple of issues.
Yeah, no, absolutely. MMOs are hard to get right on the first try, but the nature of MMOs is that you have to maintain them. You have to come up with updates, bug fixes, and for a company to create an MMO, it's a investment. That's a game that they have to keep up and keep creating. So it's a very
That's
big
right.
commitment, but I'm happy to see the MMO market start to move again. It was stagnant there for a little while, but I think it's starting to pick up.
And yeah, and that's right. And later on this year, Amazon. Everybody knows Amazon. We all shop there. They are the biggest company in the world. They have their own game studio, and they are launching an MMO later on this year called New World.
Yeah. No, and I'm not familiar with Amazon. What company is that?
If you're not familiar with Amazon, I'm not sure what cave you've been living in. You might want to work on that.
But you're right. Amazon, everybody knows the shopping giant. They're getting into the video game world, and I think we're all excited for that. They have the ability, they have the money to really do anything they want. And so the fact that they're starting to get into the video game development is kind of exciting. We should all be looking forward to that.
That's right. And I would classify them currently right now as an indie developer, and because indie developers, as we speak about them, have come out strong here in
Hmm.
the past few years. And I would say one of the ones that was probably big that me and you both have played was Hello Games with the launch of No Man's Sky. Had a horrible launch, but they've come back with it. And Brooks, I know you've played it more since then. So what can you tell us about No Man's Sky and the current state of that game?
Yeah. Well, No Man's Sky is um, it's really the best indie game that's ever been created. And I don't say that lightly. There's been a lot of great indie games. You're right in that it had a really bad launch, and not so much as that the game itself was bad, it was just empty. There wasn't anything to do, and it was a shame because it had come on the heels of so many promises. Um, when that game was coming out, they promised that you'd be able to see other players. They promised there'd be like this MMO element to it. Um, they had all these like wild notions and stuff like that, and just it wasn't there on launch. It just wasn't there, and so people were understandably upset. This wasn't the game that they were promised, and so it was a very terrible launch. They got very bad press, and some people still hate the company now, but um, you got to give it to them because they've really turned it around. No Man's Sky has had numerous content updates, all free, by the way. They are not charging for any of these content updates. They know that they owe the player base, and so this game is beyond playable right now. This game is phenomenal. It's gone from almost like a 1 out of 10 to a 10 out of 10, and I can't give high enough praise to Hello Games and what they've done to kind of turn that around.
That's right. And it's great when a company and developer sticks up for their game and they turn around and put in the effort to fix it for their fans.
That's right. And that's really what it's all about, guys. If as a developer you can say, that's on us, we messed up, and then go out and fix it, that speaks volumes because at that point it's no longer about the money, it's about the fans. And really, that's what we're here for, right? Like, video games are about the fans interacting with those developers, with those game makers. It's an art. It really is. And so I like to see companies step up, admit to their mistakes, and say, you know what, that's our bad, but we're going to make it up to you. And so I applaud Hello Games for that. Um, and I wish Bethesda had done a better job with Fallout 76. But, water under the bridge. We're looking for great things from both those companies coming up here.
That's right. And that brings us up to, I believe, our next developer who has made some mistakes over these years, but they are still one of our top developers in general that are worldwide force to be reckoned with. They're probably my overall favorite company, and that is Ubisoft.
Oh, yes. I mean, what
Assassin's
what
Creed
more
for
do we have to
life.
say? Assassin's Creed. But no, Ubisoft is a phenomenal, phenomenal developer. They've had a lot of smash hits lately. I mean, what do they have? You know, they've got Assassin's Creed. What else they got? They got the Tom Clancy games, Rainbow
They have
Six.
That's right. I mean, they've got Tom Clancy, Rainbow Six. They've got The Crew. They've got Steep, which is a snowboarding style game. They also have Skis.
Mm-hmm.
They have Far Cry, which has been a massive hit ever since it
Mm-hmm.
came out. Anno and RTS style. Watch Dogs, which we're all waiting for. Watch Dogs Legion. It's a new one
Mm-hmm.
coming out. It's gonna be awesome. They had the Prince of Persia series. They had the Heroes of Might and Magic.
Mm-hmm.
They have Skull and Bones coming out, which Skull and Bones is a pirate ship game where you and your friends can team up, make an armada, and fight with the same style of Assassin's Creed 4, which by all know Assassin's Creed 4 was by far probably the best Assassin's Creed to come out.
Yeah, I think so too. You know, it's Assassin's Creed 4. A lot of people say it's the best Assassin's Creed game. Some people actually say that, you know, this wasn't really an Assassin's Creed game so much as it was a piracy game. And I tend to agree with them. The piracy genre is really something that hasn't been tapped into a whole lot. There was Rare that have made a game called Sea of Thieves, which has been very popular. Has received multiple updates on its own as well here. Most recently, there was a Ghost Ship update that came out a few days ago. That's another great game if you like that high seas piracy type stuff. But you're absolutely correct. This can all be tracked back down to Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag, um,
That's
which
right. It put
really
the pirate games back on the map, and it's been a while since we had one of those.
that's very true. And Skull and Bones, we were anxiously looking forward to. Ubisoft's been real quiet about it though, and it was rumored to be a 2020 release. That's obviously been pushed back. There were rumors that they might have canceled the project altogether. We don't know. They did show us extensive gameplay, so it's you know we think it's still out there, but we haven't heard any information in quite some time.
That's right. And I've been looking forward. I've been keeping my eye on it. So far, like you said, nothing else really yet, but we know it's still coming. Ubisoft doesn't cancel
Hmm.
games very often. I guarantee they're trying to make sure this is done right to make sure it's good. You know, because they've made some other good games too. You know, they had the South Park series. If you're a South Park fan like we are, those games are hysterical. They're a lot of fun. They're RPG. They're turn based. It's a ton of fun. But the biggest game Ubisoft that put them on the map was back in '95. I know I've played this, Brooks. You may have. Was the Rayman's game, Rayman series.
Hmm. No, great games. I never played them myself, but I'm very familiar. Definitely an iconic character from that time period, and really just you know just a testament to how long Ubisoft has been a giant in the industry. Everything they do is gold. You know, they very rarely do they ever make a bad game, and in a similar way to Blizzard, very rarely do they ever make a bad game.
Yeah, and
Um,
Ubisoft they did have a flop in recent years. It was called Starlink. It was a toys to lifestyle game. You know, that's one of those toys to life games like Skylanders and all that. Those are very hard to do because when you start putting toys that it
mhm.
costs extra with a $60 game, to me, it's a money pit. People aren't going to buy into it. It's too much. It's too much for me and you who are working jobs. They have bills and all
Hmm.
that. But even targeting for kids, parents don't want to keep buying more and more stuff, and then the game becomes obsolete, and the kid gets loose interest, and then they're stuck with all these toys.
Yeah, I agree. And it was a weird little phase there, where they had toys as the peripherals. I know they had like the amiibos and you had like the Skylanders and uh, all kinds of things. And I never really understood the appeal. I guess maybe little kids like having little figures and stuff like that. But
Well, the amiibo is a little bit different. You don't; those aren't required to play the game. They give
hmm
you content in the game, which is nice. It's a nice little feature. Like if you have a certain amiibos, they'll give you a outfit or some weapon or something else in the games. It's kind of a neat thing. But like you said, it's still an extra toy you have to buy to get this one little piece.
it's an extra. It's just an extra piece, you know. And you know, here I am. I'm old school. I'm just saying, put the content in the games. You know,
Yeah,
why do I
let
have
me
to buy a
unlock it.
toy? Just let me unlock it. But no, you're absolutely correct. So,
Yeah.
but guys, you know, those are our favorite developers. We want to hear from you. We want to know what our listeners are playing. What are some of your favorite developers? What are some of your favorite games? You can always reach us on our Facebook page. We've got Instagram, Twitter. We're going to start a Snapchat here soon, and everything's Game Story Podcast on Facebook. And if you're trying to find us on Insta and Twitter, it's at Game Story Cast.
That's right.
And that's absolutely right. So we want to hear from you guys. Want to have those conversations. And we got to give a shout out here before we go. We are hosted by Raven's Mask Media Company. They're our parent company. They do some great things with great content creators. If you're interested in creating content, they're your one-stop shop to get everything done. They'll help you produce, they'll help you create, and they'll help get your work out there. So if you're an artist, a creator, be sure to look up Raven's Mask Media Company.
That's right. And we also have one more big announcement before we sign off for the day. Guys, we have officially have our t-shirts, sweatshirts, and coffee mugs available and the new Game Story podcast logo.
That's right. That's right, guys. We have officially released our merch. We will be posting links to where you can find that merch later today as you're listening to this podcast. But that's right. We have our Game Story logo on t-shirts, on hoodies, and we have some coffee mugs for you guys.
And mouse pads are on the way, I believe.
Mouse pads are on the way. We're going to have you swagged out with all the coolest stuff. It's going to speak Game Story everywhere. We're going to have you on the hood of your car.
We will just not have Fortnite.
Yeah, it's we're gonna have our logo everywhere, but no, but we do have merch out, guys. It's really cool, and we love the support. Everything that you put into that, we're gonna use to improve our content for you guys, and including some upcoming streaming projects we have. I know myself and Jeremy are both starting our own independent streams. Once we have those set up, we'll definitely be sharing those with you guys too.
That's right, and we're gonna stream together sometime. We're gonna stream separate. If I'm not online, I'm gonna be hosting Brooks. If he's not online, he's gonna be hosting me. I mean, guys, we plan to make this, and we want to play with you guys. I'm gonna actually be making a post here soon, posting all of my online stuff. So if you want to play with me, or send me a message on Xbox and PS4 and Switch, Steam, and everything, man, I want to play with you guys. I want to get to know. And it's gonna be a good time. Lots of things coming down the pipeline. It just takes a little. It's just coming. It's coming.
Oh yeah. 2020 is gonna be a big year for us, guys. We want you along with us. So we appreciate you stopping in. Share us with your family. Share us with your friends. But with that, we're gonna go ahead and sign off. Again, my name's Brooks.
I'm Jeremy.
And we're Game Story. Game on.
Game on.